heard of the bell curve? Yeah, so if you haven't heard about the bell curve, this is a bell curve. It's shaped like a bell, kind of. And it's split into three. And whenever you get more than three people together, that means you, you get a bell curve of representation of how people kind of behave. And so be really honest with yourselves as we go through this, where you sit in the bell curve. And let me just share that everyone in this room, because of your history and your commitment and what you've learned with the Buffini, whatever you call it, process thing, I'm happy to join it, whatever it is. It's like, you ain't ever getting rid of me. And anyway, so you all, at such a different level, the energy in this room, and I'm going to be talking about, look, I can draw it here on this fabulous board. Normally, I talk about 4 different sciences. I can't tell you how much fun this is. I know I probably look simple, but it's really joyful. And watch this. Oh, no. Look. Anyway, so normally what I talk about is neuroscience, epigenetics, emotional intelligence, or you have to go slow, and quantum physics. And I've been studying quantum physics since I was 17, 3,000 years ago. And I was one of the first people in Australia to start studying it. And it's so relevant because, we're not just a human. We are actually a giant bioelectric current. And do you remember back to school days when you get an electric current, what's generated around the electric current? A magnetic field. And we know now, there's a whole organisation called the Institute of Heart Math where they've done studies on the heart. And do you know your heart beats an electric current 60 times more powerful than any other organ in the body. And every organ beats an electric current. And every organ generates a magnetic field, but the heart's field goes out. How far do you think from the body? Think how far we were separated during COVID. 6 feet. 6 feet, sphere of 6 feet around you, you connect with somebody else's heart, whether you know it or not, with the heart field. And if you're sitting next to someone who's got an angry, hostile heart, punch them. Because they're in fact influencing your brain waves. We know that. If there's somebody sitting here who's going, I don't want to, I don't want to be here, punch them. And nicely, of course, no injuries. But we need to change that with people if we can. Excuse me, I choked trying to make the bad voice. That'll teach me. And so literally we know that what's in your heart affects people within a 6 feet radius. And if you add all the 6 feet up in this room, that is one giant ball of love and inspiration, isn't it? So, on the count of three, but wait till I count to 3 because you're a very enthusiastic group. So, I want you to look at the person on one side of you, even if you've never seen them before in your life, and I know you all looked at each other this morning, so you've had a start, and I want you to look deeply into their eyes. Don't do it yet, wait till I count to 3. And anybody who's gone, what? But I don't know them. I don't want to look deeply into their eyes. Do you know? Observe that about yourself because we're going to come back to it. And then you're going to turn and look at the person on the other side and deeply eyeball connect them and just see them. And we're going to do that in just a second. Because if we go back here, with these sciences, we know with quantum physics, we know with epigenetics, that we affect each other all the time, which is why it's so important you're here, that we're not doing this virtually. Because you can't, well, you kind of can, but it's a bit harder and a bit more esoteric to think about connecting your heart field when we're Zooming people. So the more you get out and you're actually physically within 6 feet of people, then, and I've just had this fabulous kind of orgy of hugging in the back, like fortunately, Buffini's and the team love to hug. And my heart is singing. Oh, that's what I was telling you. So I was sitting back there listening to Brian this morning, and I started to get teary because I didn't know how to express how I felt. I was so at home. And luckily, I'm not going to cry now, because when I started to cry before, I thought, I don't think I can start off like that, because A, it's therapy on stage, and B, I didn't know if I could actually stop, because it's been such a hard experience coming from Australia and landing somewhere where I didn't know anybody really, and then coming to this place where there's just this massive love. And I say it not to do therapy, but to help you appreciate how extraordinary this group is from an outsider perspective. So when, on the count of 3, you're going to turn, don't clap, we haven't got time. And no, seriously, when you're going to turn and look into the eyeball of the person on either side of you, remember that. Remember, because that's one of the main messages today. Remember how extraordinary you are.